and
Yes, our
stuff like
entertainment
that.
contributor,
Hi,
Jill.
So-
Thank you
Good
so
to
much
see
for
you. There's
being
still
with
some
us.
sparkling
Up,
Halloween
you can take
joy
that with
here.
you if you
Thank
want.
you.
Well, this is actually something we didn't tease at all or talk about, Rick, but Hollywood breakups. A lot of times when people think of relationships in Hollywood, they think divorce, but at this point now we're talking about divorce of parents of child stars.
Right, and of course, Miley Cyrus's parents announced they were splitting up this week, and so that brings a lot of attention to it. And in researching, I found that a lot of parents of young child stars seem to be pulled in different directions. LeAnn Rimes, when she made it big with her hit Blue in 1996, her parents split up within a year. Britney Spears made it big with Hit Me Baby One More Time in 1999. By 2002, her parents had split up. And I interviewed psychologist Cooper Lawrence, who said one of the problems is maybe the parents already had a lot of differences. Now they have the financial means to divorce, to live in two separate homes and all of that. So maybe problems were brewing all along in some of these relationships. Miley's parents, on the other hand, have been together a very long time. And it's, certainly sad news for Miley and her siblings to see this happen. And one never knows exactly what goes into a relationship, although the psychologist I interviewed said maybe they had philosophical differences on how best to raise a child, both in general and a child in the spotlight, which is a whole different ball of wax, as you can imagine.
And I can only imagine this is something that isn't really talked about that much. What does this do to the siblings of the child stars as well?
The siblings of the child stars have a tough road. They're always known as, whoever's little sister. I'm not necessarily Miley specifically, but whoever. You're always Beyonce's little sister, or Miley's younger sibling, or whatever. So it's a hard road for those children throughout their lives. It's a challenge that they have that other kids don't have to deal with. And for any child whose parents split up, of course, certainly an emotional time, and even harder when it's in the public eye and everyone knows about it.
Now, some psychologists say, or relationship experts say, maybe as a mother, as a manager, also might help almost encourage a divorce if things are already rocky.
It adds another level of stress, and we've seen that the Hollywood lifestyle can be very hard on relationships. A lot of people, if a couple's on a reality show like Nick and Jessica with newlyweds, Nick Lachey and Jessica Simpson, next thing you know, they seem to be split up, and that's happened countless times. And this is another example where the fathers in the Hollywood industry, the mothers in the industry as a manager, some of the children are in the industry, so every member of the family has been being pulled in different directions, and there are different aspects that come with the industry. The stress, the money can create stress within a relationship, even though most of us think of money as being a good thing. The travel involved of going to different concerts, going to different film locations. The family is pulled in many different directions.
What can a family do then if their child, and I know you're not speaking to the mass public here, but what are at least some tips that you think young up-and-coming child stars, their parents, can look out for?
Well, the psychologist I interviewed said a lot of times there's root problems that are already there. So it's not A plus B equals C, or childhood plus fame equals divorce. It's all the factors that go into any other marriage. But certainly parents should be aware that if your child makes it famous, your every parenting move is scrutinized by the whole country. Every time Miley posed for a photo shoot that people thought was provocative, they'd say, "Where was Billy Ray Cyrus? Where was her mother?" So it adds another level of tension to a marriage.
Well, and Billy Ray was already quite famous, obviously, before, and Miley's mom was just seen she started to emerge a little bit more in taking her daughter out on red carpet events and whatnot, but certainly not at the same level as her husband.
Right, yes. He was known as Billy Ray Cyrus. She was known as Miley's mom to most people. She does have a name. It's Tish. So certainly this family has been familiar with being in the public eye for a long time, but I think many people would agree that Miley Cyrus is wildly famous. Billy Ray Cyrus was famous in the country music world. Miley Cyrus, I think everyone in America has heard of her and beyond. So they've got a even more spotlight than they had in the past. But we wish them all the best. Of course, she's not even 18 yet. She has younger siblings and some older siblings. And certainly, we wish the family the best as they go through this.
The Kardashian family has come up, as everybody has been covering this story, as a potential family to look out for.
I wish the Kardashians all the best, but some of the different red flags that we see, they applied to the Kardashians. The mom being a manager, we've seen in some of these other families, that applies to the Kardashians. Kris Jenner, the mother of the Kardashian girls, it's a huge blended family. She manages Kim's career, Courtney's career, Chloe's career, etc. And the family's on a reality show, which we know is a big stress for marriage. From what we've seen, anecdotal evidence here. So, keeping up with the Kardashians, we see some of the stresses within the marriage. We've seen on the show Kris going out clubbing, which is one of the things people always said, oh, Dina Lohan spends too much time out enjoying the Hollywood scene. And then a few years after those headlines, Dina Lohan and Michael Lohan, Lindsay's parents, split up. So, the Kardashians are very much in the public eye, and we hope they don't have the same problems that some other families have had.
Well, a lot of times this fame, it's new for the child star, and it's also new for the parents as well. They almost reach this level of fame and status that they never even imagined.
It's true, and I can't even imagine suddenly being thrust into the public eye, which is how it seems to go. Not too many people get gradually famous. They kind of, you never hear of them, and then Hannah Montana's a huge hit, and you know the whole family. So that's the kind of thing that happens here, that they're thrust into the limelight, and they have to learn to deal with it.
What about some couples who have really stayed together and been going strong for years now, despite the fact that their children are superstars?
Yeah, well, if you go way back, Alyssa Milano was a child star, and her parents are still together. And then more recently, Dakota Fanning and her younger sister are both in the public eye. Their families are still together. Haley Joel Osment made it huge with The Sixth Sense. His parents are still together. So it certainly doesn't happen to every parent, thank goodness. But the stresses of Hollywood are definitely there, and definitely one more area that can put strain on a marriage.
It's as if they don't have enough stress just worrying about taking their child to auditions.
Yeah, I know, and consoling their child if the audition doesn't go well. It's probably not an easy lifestyle.
And this has got to be really hard for the child stars as well, because on top of everything else, it's already an adjustment to deal with this fame, but now to deal with the public scrutiny, and now to deal with the scrutiny and the involvement in these personal matters. How are these kids dealing with it?
Yeah, that has to be a really hard one. And, in that area, I'm not a psychologist. I can't tell you how they get through it, other than to say I'm sure it's stressful on them. And, those of us in the media need to do our best to report on, the parents are splitting up, yes, but to not say or do anything that would make the child feel any worse about it.
Well, Jill, thank you so much for talking to us.
Great, thank you.
Talk to you soon, hopefully about something better than divorces.
Yes, something happier. Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
Halloween.